Welcome to the Art Project. We're going to do a little collage this morning. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you enjoy this video at all, please give it a thumbs up. And get ready. We're going to do a collage inspired by Romare Bearden. First thing you're going to want to do is several thumbnail sketches. I usually do 6. For this one I just did 3. You can see how I started out with a little hummingbird, and I thought, nope, I can do better than that. Let me add 2 hummingbirds, and I thought to make them kind of in the shape of a heart. And then I did a 3rd thumbnail sketch of this bird just kind of shooting straight ahead like a dart, but I wasn't as into that one as I was the heart-shaped one. So, boom, back to the heart-shaped one. The first thing you're going to do is put a 1/2-inch border on your paper. That's obviously going to change depending on which size paper you use. You might do a really large collage and do 1 inch, but for this project with my students, we're doing a 1/2 inch. Then you're going to add a background. For my background, I wanted it to look like the blue sky, and so I chose a bunch of blue colors. One of the things that kind of goes unmentioned here sometimes is that this is a lot about texture. And so all of my different blues, all of my different colors, all of my different parts of this collage are going to be full of different types of texture. There was so much texture going on that I didn't always make sure that the paper, the image or whatever that I was using had texture on it, but for the most part everything was very textural. Some of these are rubbings that I went out and did on location and then came back and watercolored some blue into the rubbings and then cut out. That piece is a envelope, like you would get a bill in, and it has all that design and pattern on the inside of it. I love those things. I cut them out and use them all the time. And then on a separate sheet of paper, this is a piece of scrap paper. When I flip it over, you'll see it's got stuff on the back of it. But on a separate sheet of paper, I'm going to create my hummingbirds. I didn't want to do them directly on the background because if I mess up, then I have to start over or restart or whatever. Collage is actually really good because you can start on the paper, and if you mess up, you can just glue on top of it. But I didn't think to do that, or I thought, I might mess up my blue background. So I went ahead and did this. Also, I did not intend to use fish as the wings, but I happened to come across this page full of fishing lures, and I thought, hey, these are the same shape I was going to cut out for my wing feathers. So I cut out all these little lures, and those are the wings for my hummingbird on the right. It's really just kind of an experiment. I did try it on both the left and the right, and originally I was going to do the little fish lures on both hummingbirds, but you'll see at the end of the video I ended up using them only on the right. I also wanted it to have kind of that ruby red throat, so I cut out a piece for the throat from a piece of red page in a magazine. Notice how I'm also using the magazine as scrap paper to put the glue on the back of my little parts and then glue them down. I didn't want to get glue all over my table, so make sure you have something down to protect your table when you're putting glue on the back of your pieces of paper. Some more of this watercolored rubbing paper that I did. The rubbings I did with crayon on white copy paper. Just went out, I found something that has some texture on it, I laid the piece of paper on top of it, and I did a rubbing across it. I found this last time that I did this project that a lot of students had never done a rubbing before. So I did the rubbing with crayon, and then I went over the paper with a watercolor wash of a contrasting color. Again, here's a piece of envelope with some pattern on the inside of it. And you can see that these hummingbirds are coming to shape. By the way, that was just a piece of gray that I found on a pig. It had, pig bristle fur. It was great. I was looking for something that was the right size for the eye. I cut out this deer's eye and used it for a hummingbird eye. I'm making a little Frankenstein bird here. It's not imperative that you use all images from a magazine, and I try to make sure that my students know that. You can use pieces from anything that's flat that you can glue down. Use a cardboard box, or the cardboard from a box. You can use cereal box, an old T-shirt, material from an old T-shirt, or any kind of material for that matter. Paint samples, whatever you can find that is flat that you can glue down would be great for this. And step number 4 is to cut these images out. Don't hesitate to do more imagery than I've done here. If you have a more complex scene, maybe you have a landscape full of animals, or maybe you have a still life with lots of objects in it, you can create all of your objects on separate sheets of paper and glue them down. For this, I originally intended to have my blue sky in the orientation that you see right there. However, after kind of examining it a little bit, I decided it had better contrast if I flipped the background around. So when I glue it down here, you see I've now flipped the background around, and the darker part is at the top and the lighter part's at the bottom. And I'm going to glue all of these images down. That, my friends, is how you make a collage. This is just one of the many ways you could do it. I gave this project to my students, and a lot of them did it different ways. This is what the final image looks like. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your share it on your favorite social media network, and go make some art.